We are back on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Podcast part 2, our second podcast here on Thursday. If you haven't listened, go back on your feed and find our original podcast that we were recording earlier, where we got interrupted by Baker Mayfield requesting a trade. Mary Kay had to jump off. Doug, Scott, Ashley, and I reacted to all of that in real time. So now Mary Kay, Scott, and I are back, and we're going to talk through this a little bit. And actually, I got to say, I wasn't sure how different this would be from that initial podcast, but even with just like a few hours of space, I think it's given us all an opportunity to clear our heads and kind of get a little bit of a grasp on what was going on. The first question, though, I want to ask Mary Kay is, like, as soon as you jumped off that pod, about 30 seconds or a minute later, you broke that the Browns were not going to accommodate Baker Mayfield's trade request. And I guess the question I have is, it's not like they have to trade him tomorrow just because he requested a trade. So why do you think they came out so strongly and said they aren't going to accommodate it? Because they didn't have to necessarily do that either. They could have just slow played it.
You know what? I think they wanted to send a message right away that he is not going to dictate the narrative, that he is not going to be the one that decides his future, that they are in charge. He's under contract to them. They conducted business in the way that a football team does. They had told us and everyone else that they will not shut the door on any opportunity to upgrade the roster at any position. None of us should be surprised about the fact that they did that, obviously, because he wasn't under contract and he was the 27th ranked quarterback last year coming off of his worst season. So I don't think that, that any of this should have come as a big surprise to him or anyone else, that they had an opportunity and they took it. But my key takeaway since that moment where I expressed my little surprise in the moment, although I have been writing for days and days and days that he would probably ask to be traded. And this goes back a long way to even the end of the season when I wrote that if things didn't get better and he didn't like the way things were going, that he would be asked to be traded. So, but since that time, I really do believe that they are going to dig in their heels and live up to what they're saying, that they are not going to accommodate his trade request. I don't think that this is just lip service. They mean business.
So, Scott, what were your initial thoughts then when the Browns basically said no?
Well, when somebody requests a trade, what they're essentially asking is, let my agents go and try to work something out with another team, right? And that doesn't make a lot of sense for the Browns to do that right now. Number one, we don't even know where Deshaun Watson's going yet. So the market's still kind of figuring itself out. Number two, what good does it do the Browns for Baker to go and talk to Indianapolis or Carolina? Because neither of those teams really have anything that are going to help the Browns quarterback situation right now. He's a valuable negotiating tool in a trade for a quarterback, like, say, Derek Carr. The Raiders are going to want somebody to play quarterback if they deal Derek Carr, and Baker Mayfield could be attractive because he's only got 1 year left. He's relatively cheap. So allowing Baker to go and kind of work out his own trades, it kind of takes some of the ability to work something themselves out, that's going to help them directly this year. So that's the way I read that. It just doesn't make sense because he's not calling the Raiders. Baker isn't going to the Raiders and trying to work out a trade. He's going someplace that has a clear opening and has a pretty good team for him to plug into.
Yeah, so that's interesting. The idea of you kind of say no because, hey, maybe we're going to need you later in a deal, whether it's Derek Carr or whether it's someone else who becomes disgruntled, like Doug threw out Kyler Murray, right? I don't know that Baker would love playing for Cliff Kingsbury again, but is that maybe where this could be headed, Mary Kay? Could this be headed to, like, we're going to kind of just wait until there's another disgruntled quarterback if one happens to come on the market between now and maybe even September?
Yes, I think that's something to keep in mind because once again, as we all know, Baker Mayfield is heading into the final year of his contract. Nobody knows exactly how it's going to go next season. And so now they have a little bit of time on their side. There is no sense of urgency to do anything. And they are not going to go try to find a new landing spot or home for him and make everything turn out well and then end up without a quarterback themselves. I think they're looking at it like, out of the available options, they believe that he gives them the best chance to win out of anybody they could acquire at this moment. And I think that that is the intent. I think we know they went out and they traded for Amari Cooper. They will continue to add to the receiver room. And I think they believe that Baker Mayfield will be better next year. He's going to be in a contract year, so he can't go out and not try to play well. He's going to have to put some really good tape out for either himself or his next football team. So I think they think that they'll get the best out of him next season. And I honestly believe in this moment right now, as we speak, that they do fully expect that he is going to be their quarterback in 2022. I don't think that Baker has a lot of leverage right now. I don't think that there is an enormous market for him out there in the world of trades. I just don't think, I think it's hard coming off of the season that he had, 27th with an 83.1 rating, also 27th in QBR. I just don't know that he's got a ton of leverage. And I think he's going to have no choice but to come back and to play football for the Cleveland Browns and to go out there and to overcome this. He's overcome adversity in his life and his career before. And I think he's going to have to do it again.